Good evening again. We're back. We've been let out, let loose, and as much as I would love to be celebrating an Everton win this weekend, it's me who's going to need the therapy. It's my fellow hosts who are going to be pontificating and enjoying the fact that Liverpool won again and are top of the league. Or I think we're now on alphabetical order. So Charlie's with us tonight, and Stephen. Hiya guys, you must be delighted. Must be as delighted as I am annoyed. Can I start the show tonight and I just have a little mention because Jimmy Greaves died today, I know Stephen you tweeted earlier on. It was really nice actually, but what a talent as a striker and actually such an unfortunate part of English football history is he didn't play in the World Cup final in 1966. He was in the squad, but he didn't play on the day and he didn't get a medal. And it's just one of those pieces of footballing fate. It really should have been him who banged in that one, at least one of the goals in that final. But amazing talent, and also certainly when I was a kid, an amazing TV talent, and he was brilliant with the Saint, and I just think just a nice little mention about that because he was, I think he's quite often overlooked just how good he was. He was like one of the first players to go to Italy and stuff. So Jimmy Greaves, rest in peace from all of us as well. So
right, definitely. You heard the word legend.
Yeah.
Banded about, but he was a true legend of the game. The amount of goals he got in the short amount of the games he got as well, and some of his records are still standing today. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant player, and he'll be a sad loss to the football in Wales. But but he was a legend. And it was just a bit apt that his two main clubs were actually playing each other today.
Yeah,
Spurs and Chelsea.
It's strange how that so often happens, though, isn't it? It's just like you get a fixture, and I would imagine probably Jimmy Greaves has had that fixture circled on his calendar for months now, and just thinking, I've got that. Let's have a watch of that and stuff. Yeah. And to lose him this morning is probably with his Spurs hat on was probably his. He's probably as well not seeing it.
Spurs would have probably wanted them on the pitch today.
I think he could have taught a few of them a lesson as well.
Yeah.
He really could.
Definitely.
So let's start. Should we start with that game? Because
Go for it.
I'm going to pick up with something that Roy Keane, who is on the telly in the UK, and he was on a right go at Harry Kane, just about his body language, just about how, as a captain, you're meant to lead the team, and he just kind of down tools in the second half. And I don't often agree with Roy Keane because I think he just antagonises me and probably 99% of those people watching. But I think he was spot on, and I thought actually Spurs needed someone to dig in that second half, and they didn't. Nobody seemed to really want it, and I think that's such a sad thing. I know we've got Nick, who's a regular contributor to the show, but he sent us a message on Twitter earlier on. So he's and as a Spurs fan, you're probably thinking, oh well, maybe we'll get something out of the game. But I'm gonna read this because I know Nick's busy and he can't join us and stuff like that. But his message was: second-rate team and a second-rate manager. A massive overhaul is needed from top to bottom. The frustrating thing for me is that we had a world-class manager who has proven it, and the team ruined him. Love him or hate him, Mourinho has seen it and done it. That's a bit of a change. That's a bit of a change because he hated Mourinho last season, didn't he? Yeah. Porto won trophies, Chelsea won trophies, Madrid, Inter, even Man United. Come to Spurs, and all they want to do is get paid. No fight, going through the motions. It makes me hate football at times. No one wanted that job because they could see the team going backwards. His final word was useless. And actually, I tend to agree with him. You think about 3 weeks ago, Spurs were at top of the table. Spurs fans were thinking, "Hey, we're going to win the league." All this.
Yeah, they started off well.
Yeah, it hasn't aged quick. It hasn't aged well, lad, has it? Like,
No, I agree with the sentiment of why he's there because as you know, I go down to Liverpool over a weekend. I was travelling up. I only watched the first half, and in the first half, they looked okay. So then I listened to the rest of the second half on BBC 5 Radio, BBC 5 Live. And all I could hear was, Chelsea on the attack, Chelsea on the attack. So it just sounded to me like no one was really trying from a Spurs point of view either on the commentary.
I must admit, Stephen, I've written down, I do notes and stuff like that for each of the games, but that was my view of exactly what the game was this afternoon. Spurs did all right. They actually put Chelsea. They made Chelsea think in the first half.
Yeah,
they made Chelsea look a little bit ordinary at times. I'm thinking, I was actually thinking, oh, we're onto something. I can see a chink in the armour of Chelsea for the first time. Because when they were at Anfield, they went down to 10 men. They really battled hard to get that point. I'm thinking, oh, this is a continuation of this. But I give Thomas Tuchel his credit. He made the decision at half-time to change it up. He'd obviously spotted something, and he wasn't afraid. I think most other managers would have just said, I'll wait until the hour mark. I'll wait until about 65, 70 minutes, and then I'll make the change. And he didn't. He made the change at half-time, and that change actually changed the entire game. They came out after half-time. They were immense in the second half, and actually they managed to change what was a game that was in some respects out of their grasp, and they just completely steamrolled Spurs in the second half. And I'd imagine Spurs probably sat there at half time thinking, "Yeah, come on, lads, we just keep more of the same." Yeah. And then they had the brave decision by the manager to change it, but I'll tell you what, Spurs really needed to get the finger out and do something, and they didn't.
And that's why they're not at the level of like the Chelsea and Liverpool and City, because they haven't got people in the team that are going to fight for them. Because Chelsea were not, even listening to the commentary and then listening to the manager's interview at the end, it's not that they played great. They just dug in and found the fight to win. And that's what all good teams do, or all winning teams do. They don't win through skill alone all the time.
Yeah, I give him his due. I think he downplayed his part that he actually had to play in that, because he must have sat there at half time. Just it's not often you see Chelsea sort of hooking people at half time and changing it. And I think it was. My mind's gone now. Mason Mount was the one who got hooked at half time, and when you're thinking, hang on a minute, this is a player who's international class, and you're getting hooked at half time for Kante, and I just thought, well, that for me absolutely nails why Chelsea are doing something special at the minute. They're not frightened of making big decisions, and that was proven today, really.
Hello, Harrison. Welcome in. I'm with you there on that. And Tuchel, he made that change. He was brave in doing it, and that's what's changed the game.
Yeah.
But let's look at it. Let's look at it from a Spurs point of view. Right? You've got England's best forward, right? Number one forward. He scores goals for fun. All right, he's going through a bit of a barren spell. But you said Roy Keane was having a pop at him.
Yeah.
Well, really, he was stuck on left wing. He was in the left-hand side of the pitch.
Why is he there? I can't grasp why was he playing way out there when actually he's an out-and-out striker, and maybe I'm going to answer my own question. Maybe it's the fact that the two Chelsea centre halves are actually quality centre halves, and Harry Kane can't contend with people who mark him out the game. I don't know. Just putting it out there.
I think he'd be able to cope with them. He's got everything in his locker to be able to deal with those type of players, But he's in the position where he's supposed to be creating the goals. You got Son in the centre, who's a great player, but Son's more suited to playing on the left and creating the goals, and Kane getting on the end of it. Yeah, I just thought it was a strange decision from the manager there.
Yeah,
usually something like that is a result of what they see during practice, though, isn't it? During the week, you would think that maybe he saw more hunger from Son instead of Kane, and he knows Kane's off a little bit. Maybe his mind is still in Manchester for some reason. Who knows? Just
maybe. Yeah, good call, Charlie. I think as well we've got to remember Thiago Silva's playing at the back as well for Chelsea.
Yeah,
and is it maybe one of them where he's thinking if he puts Son 1-on-1 with him, Son has definitely got the pace to certainly to ask the question, but it just didn't work. It didn't work at all.
There'll be definitely a reason why Nuno's gone down that road to do that. I was just trying to understand what it is. Maybe you're right, Charlie. He's seen something in the week where Kane's just not looking hungry. He showed it against Kane. He's not being hungry. Maybe his head is somewhere else. Maybe all this talk about where he wants to stay is just a load of nonsense, and he does really want to go still.
I know what it is. I don't know if you guys can handle the truth. I know exactly what it is. What? It's because I put Kane on my fantasy league. Last year he scores 23 goals and he has like 242 points last year. I said, hey, I'm going to get Kane this year. Zero goals. Just like 5 points this year. Come on. That's why.
He's gone 4 games without a goal. This is I think he said it was 16, 17 was the last time they had that kind of run.
When the first came back, he only had 18 minutes, so you can't really count that as a
goal. I know, but
so 3.25 games, okay. But next
week, he's not going to score a goal while he's in the left wing. He's not going to score a goal while he's on the left wing.
Yeah, you got to wonder.
Yeah. I think as well. I'm just going to put another thing out there. I don't think Spurs have really been the same club since Pochettino left.
No,
I think they lost the heart. I think they lost the real soul and the real
identity.
They've never recovered from that particular moment. And
it's good that you said that, John, because on the way up, after they get on Radio 5 Live, they have the phone in with Robbie Savage and they were getting the Spurs fans in to talk about what they thought was, and a few of them, John, said exactly that what you just said.
Really, I've not heard it. So
Pochettino, when Pochettino at the end of the Champions League final, because what Chris Sutton kept saying to them was, because they were coming on obviously negative, and we just don't want no ambition or anything like that. And Chris Sutton had asked all of them, did you think they lacked ambition when you're in the Champions League final? And every single one would come back and said, well, at the Champions League final, Pochettino told Daniel Levy he needs investment to take them into the next level. He didn't get that investment, and ultimately they fell out and they ended up getting the sack. And so all the Spurs fans are just echoing what you just said there, John. And there's some truth to it, because since Pochettino, they haven't been anything. I mean, I'm going to disagree with Nick on Mourinho, because Mourinho's done nothing at Man United. Mourinho's not done.
He did nothing at Spurs, except I think he created the friction that we spoke about last season.
Yeah.
He upset players, and I think Nuno. I still think Nuno's the right man.
I do. I think he's a good manager. He's going to be given time. He will have had a genuinely good reason to do the tactics he's done today. They just didn't work for him. So obviously, if it doesn't work, he's going to get under the microscope. But he needs a few transfer windows. He needs Daniel Levy to help him out with that, and so go and spend some money on some players, because some of the players there are just not good enough.
The red, white, and blue football.
I think there's a lot of the players that were not good enough, and I think that's the issue. I think a lot of Spurs fans are complaining about it, and I actually feel that until you start clearing that dead wood from your team, and I know I was very defensive about the way that Dele Alli was treated by Mourinho. He didn't cover himself in glory this afternoon, defending for the Chelsea goal that Thiago Silva scored. But there needs to be something done there, because they seem really soft, particularly at the back. They really struggle defensively, and they struggle picking up runners. They struggle when they're a midfield, as this afternoon was. Kante just basically did what he usually does. He just conducts the orchestra, and he just acts as that little, the guy who can actually put the passes. He can see the space, and you really wonder. I said this to me kids. I think in years to come, Kante has got to be considered one of the greatest Premier League footballers of all time, just because of the way he plays the game of football. He's totally unfussy, but he's not going to get the plaudits from sort of scoring the goals and all that. But he's just been amazing when he was at Leicester. He won the league with Leicester. He's gone to Chelsea. He's won Champions League with Chelsea. He's won the World Cup. He's won the league, and it's just all of that. And you think that man for his 5'5" or 5'6" stature,
monster of a player.
He's immense, absolutely immense. And
he's brilliant. He's one of them players that you need, and I think all great teams need that player that sits just in front of the back four. Liverpool have got Fabinho, who's really good at it. Chelsea have got Kante. They just them players they're like gold dust. You can't have 11 Ronaldos on the pitch. You can't, because it's not going to work. You need the players like Kante, and he did make a difference today when he come on. He did a difference.
Noticeable, wasn't it?
It was, and I was listening to the commentary. I didn't actually physically see the second half.
I would also add he scored the second, and okay, good deflection and all that. He was kind of embarrassed by it. But the one thing I would say, sort of just finishing off about Chelsea, was the fact that once again we've come through a sort of a set of fixtures where they felt that they didn't play particularly well. They changed it, and all it says at the end of the day is Tottenham 0, Chelsea 3. Yeah. Nobody's going to go into that detail. They've got 3 points. It looks as if they actually hammered Spurs, and in the second half, it probably could have been more, couldn't it? So good weekend for Chelsea.
It sounded like an onslaught at times from the Chelsea team. And this is where Spurs have got to book themselves up, and they've got to start finding that fight. It's not all about skill. It's not all about your ability. It's about the drive and the commitment and just the ability to dig deep when you're not playing well. In fact, you will not go back in history of any league season where the champions of that season haven't had to do that on more than one occasion to get the result that they need. So once he gets the players in to do that, and I know Nick said in the comments as well to us before that, they're just not people are not turning up for the team. They're coming to get paid. You need people there who are going to play for the shirt. Get people in who are going to want to play for that shirt no matter what, and play for the fans and get it going. I think give Nuno a couple of windows, and I think he'll get it right.
I think as well, and I think we've spoken about this before as well. Just in so much as the fact that teams where you've got players who are just turning up for the wages every week. There's another one. Hi, Stacey. Yeah. There's another one in North London where we've been quite vocal and quite critical, and that's the Arsenal, isn't it? And strangely enough, the two of them play next weekend.
Tottenham and Arsenal, I know. It's got the North London derby, isn't it?
Yeah.
God help the Spurs fans if they don't win that one. See, here's the thing, right? Spurs, and I know they're upset this week because they lost 2 games now, 3-0 on the bounce, right? Yeah. This one today, it's not one they really should be getting upset with. I know they've got a big rivalry with Chelsea, and I get that, right? Yeah. But like I said before, Chelsea are challenging for the title. That's where their level is. Tottenham are challenging to get in the top 4. Different levels, So the 3-0 loss against Chelsea, disappointing because they didn't put the fight in there. But really, because Chelsea's got the fight and the extra quality, they were always on an uphill battle anyway. It was the Crystal Palace result last week.
Yeah,
that really should be resounding as like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. Because we'll come to Liverpool in a bit. They didn't look like Liverpool were great and all after the races yesterday as well, and they still win, 3-0 win. But it's them sort of games that I can understand why the Spurs get upset. Today, I don't get them getting upset because they're not at that level. But get upset because they didn't fight, and put the effort in to get there. Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Welcome in.
Hi, Sarah.
Yeah. So that's where I think Spurs have got to look at now is like the fixes against Crystal Palace. Fix them.
Totally agree.
Don't worry about when you play Chelsea, Liverpool, City, right? United, I think you can have a go at them because, to be honest with you, United without Fernandes and Ronaldo, they're not the quality bit around them two guys just drops massively. But because of them two guys, they're really good. But yeah, I think them sort of games, that's the ones that they should be focusing on and making sure they get right. And the fact that they got beat 3-0 last week by Crystal Palace shows that there's still some work to be done but it's a new management team come in. There's going to be teething problems.
Yeah. And I think you just mentioned where we go next.
Man United.
Because I actually think, Man United this afternoon were in that same position where I don't think they played particularly well. But I will take my hat off to Jesse Lingard because it's always difficult going back to a place where you've been on loan and you've been loved by the fans. And the way he reacted when he scored that 89th minute win, what turned out to be a winner, was quite admirable in some ways because he actually didn't celebrate, and there was a real sort of respect because he got applauded by the West Ham fans as he came on for United, and I just thought, that was great. But the best bit about the whole game came in the 95th minute.
And the last bit. Brilliant.
What happened?
Comedy.
Right, so
Comedy.
At one end, you've got a penalty shell from Cristiano Ronaldo. VAR say, no, it's not.
I think that was about one of three as well.
Yeah, then they've gone up the other end, and West Ham gone across the ball, but Luke Shaw's had his arms out like that. And it's hit his arm. The ball hit his arm, and he's got a penalty. VAR checked it, went, penalty. David Moyes then goes, I've got a substitute left.
He gets the ball.
Mark Noble on, who hasn't missed a penalty for 5 years. Make a change, put Mark Noble on just to come on and take a penalty, right? He comes on, he misses it. David De Gea makes a good save, a really good save, but it was a poor penalty. It was a poor penalty.
Really I think as well. If I'm right in thinking, he hadn't missed a penalty for 5 years, and I think De Gea hasn't saved a penalty for forever and a day. I think United fans, when it comes to penalty shootouts, if De Gea's in goal, it's just like, I'm going home now. I'll get the bus. I'll go get the bus now. It's just save us all the heartache,
What is he saying about the 11 guys on the field, though? When he goes to a sub to take the penalty, he's basically telling that all of his primary 11 players that you're all shite for taking penalties.
Basically what he said, I taking penalties, so I'm going to put Mark Noble on, who's retiring at the end of the season as well.
I can see it because actually the stats. And this is where, and I think this is where David Moyes goes on it. He's big on his data, and you look at that and he said, like, here we go. So he's converted 84.4% of 32 penalties that he's had in a Premier League game, right? De Gea haven't saved a penalty since October 2014, and that's 21 penalties that he's not saved.
Yeah, and I get it. It's because also out of the whole of European, take all the European leagues, there's only 11
Lewandowski,
yeah, there's only him with a better record than Mark Noble in taking penalties. Yeah. So you get it from a stat point of view. And Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage were having a good debate on this, and it was constant because Robbie Savage was saying you don't need to be warmed up to take a penalty. Chris Sutton saying, you need to warm up to take a penalty.
But your mind needs to be in the game.
You need to have been there on it. To come straight off the bench to take a penalty kick, it's not right. And this is the funny thing, because for about 4 callers, Robbie Savage asked them all, right? If it was a Spurs fan, he'd say Kane, and he asked a Leicester fan, and he said Vardy. Vardy was on the bench. Would you take him off in that scenario to do a penalty? And every single one of them said no. I'd get someone who's been on the pitch all the game or most of the game and got a feel for the ball and put it on. I think that's the right thing to do. From a stats point of view, you can't sit there and go to David Moyes, well, I think you got it wrong because, on your stats. Well, you did get it wrong because he missed. he didn't get the penalty. He didn't convert the penalty. But to be honest with you, in the old grand scheme of things, it was probably the right result because Man United were great. They were the better team. Although West Ham had good periods in that game, like they were good, really good in some points. But for me,
Stephen,
first time VAR messed up, and I think
3 weeks. That's 3 weeks in a row, Stephen, that you've mentioned that Man United were great. And it's just
I think they were great.
I'm loving this. I'm making a note week on week. How many times you're having to actually appreciate that United must be breaking your heart. And I'm loving this. And I'm not even a United fan, but I find it really funny because I know it doesn't come naturally to you.
No, it doesn't. It is killing me. But at the end of the day, I'm a football lover. I love football. I'm a Liverpool fan, but I'm a football lover. And that ball from Fernandes to Ronaldo to get that goal, that was a brilliant ball. And then for Ronaldo, the way he took it, and he got a bit lucky on the rebound. He could have come off the keeper and be able to go in. But yeah, with them two in there, I think United look a real dangerous proposition. And with going on to Lingard as well, that was more important, that goal for him today as well. Not just the fact that he scored against the team where he was doing well last season. He had an absolute horror in the Champions League on and he gave a back pass to allow young boys straight in and get the winner. But for me, Lingard took a lot of the flack there, but the manager needs to take a long hard look at him and how he reacted to the red card on Wednesday. But that's a different conversation. But yeah,
that's a really good call. That's a good call, that Stephen, because actually, once again, United had a bad result in midweek, and it's hashtag Ole out. And yet today, he actually made a decent decision today. And I actually thought the way that he used his subs today was miles better. And thanks, Sarah. I love that.
That's of me praising Man United.
Don't worry. If we tell him that it'll only be a 10-second segment, that'll be forgotten by next week. But I've got to say, I thought it was brave by Solskjaer to take Pogba off today, and he was proved right when Lingard scored. Yeah, I thought it was brave for him to make the change from Greenwood to Sancho, and equally, I still don't see why he persists in playing Fred and McTominay, and I think as a United, if it was a United fan, I'd be so annoyed at the fact that they stifle that creativity. The two of them, they're too similar. They're too, in some ways, they're too negative. And I love McTominay. I think McTominay's a real prospect. And I prefer to see him in that sort of holding role and allowing Pogba that opportunity to move forward. And what tends to happen is the ball never gets to Fernandes when it's Fred and McTominay playing in the same team. It just doesn't seem, the balance just doesn't seem right for me.
Yeah. The only problem with McTominay is he needs to pull his socks down a bit. He has his socks nice. Pull your socks down. It's okay to get a bit of a grass pain now and again.
maybe he needs to have a word with Jack Grealish, doesn't he? Grealish with his short socks and McTominay with the long ones.
Jack Grealish wears his socks like Neville Southall used to wear his in the 80s. Neville Southall used to have his shin pads dangling out the socks.
Hey, take me back, Big Nev. Goodness.
But hey, what about Brighton? Yeah, I'm telling now, I don't think any of us don't have them staying in the league in our predictions.
Do you? I'm going to say it.
You had him 14th, right? Yeah.
I'm the one. Do you know something? Every week I want to call him Harry Potter. It's not. It's Graham Potter. Graham Potter has done amazing there. I just love the way that they're just basically shoving the two fingers up to every single club. And they're just shoving the two fingers up to all the pundits and even to us who thought they were going to get relegated and stuff. They've been brilliant. And they've actually got a system. They're playing to a system, but it's entertaining. It's been just amazing to see what they've done. And to actually get one over on Leicester, and Leicester must be really kicking themselves today because that should be, if they're serious about being, being a European sort of contender, you've got to go with Brighton and do something. And actually, they didn't. And Brighton was just absolutely Brighton was spot on. Brilliant to see. Absolutely brilliant.
They've knocked Man City out of the top 4 as it stands. You know, I just thought there was a point where they were winning 2-0.
Yeah.
United were drawing 1-1, and obviously Chelsea had to play.
Yeah.
I was thinking Brighton could be second.
That's...
By the end of that, 19 minutes, I was thinking Brighton could actually end up being in second place. But you know, Man United don't getting the win, obviously, and then Chelsea won as well. But to be sat there now, Brighton, and they're in 4th place.
Yeah, I know Charlie mentioned about fantasy football, but I'd also make a mention of Shane Duffy, and I think I did it a couple of weeks ago. He was completely hounded out of Celtic last season and just made to feel as if he was just persona non grata. And a fair play again to Potter. He's put his arm around him. He's welcomed him back in at the club. And he's, you know, again, I put him on my bench because I thought Leicester would win. So I've not got any of me 5 points for Duffy this week in the fantasy football team. But they just look absolutely top notch. And you can't complain. You know, it's
2-1. Yeah. It was a good result today. Jamie Vardy got his 150th Leicester goal and his 250th appearance or something like that. So that was a bit of a landmark goal for him.
My father-in-law is a big Leicester fan, and I'd do him a disservice. He's worried because actually, if Vardy gets injured, they don't seem to have the firepower up front, and they don't seem to have a player within the team. You know, that actually, you know, Iheanacho comes and goes. He turns up one game in 6 or something, and decides he quite fancies it. Maddison looks again half the player he did a couple of seasons ago. Looks as if his head's been turned because he was linked with Arsenal in the summer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
They, you know, and it's.
I don't know how that's turning your head, Leicester to Arsenal at the minute. I know probably it's cynical, like, but it's how the hell? Leicester are a much better team than Arsenal at the moment. All right, Arsenal's a bigger club, I get that, but no, I don't see how to get your head turned to Arsenal from Leicester at the minute.
I would add as well, and I think this is the bit where, you know, Leicester basically came out after the game, and Mr. Rodgers, you guys know good and proper for his time at Liverpool, instead of actually looking at his team selection and looking at performance of the team, he then looks at the fact that he felt that they were denied and they were done badly for VAR, and we didn't get key decisions went against them. And I'm thinking, come on, you know, it's all on the TV. Let's get beyond it. Let's just come out and say, yeah, Brighton actually outthought them today.
It's Graham Potter now going to be, you know, because I was listening to some of the conversations on the radio on the way back home, and one of them was saying, well, Graham Potter, he was doing all these things last season. He just wasn't getting the rub of the green. He kept trying to play the right way in his way, and he just wasn't getting the rub of the green. I can agree with that statement. Maybe this season things are just clicking and they're going for him. I know we're only 5 games in, and it could go absolutely Pete Tong over the next 5 games for them. But as it stands, I think
as well that there's two players there. I think I mentioned the lad Connolly last week, who was on the bench.
Yeah.
Today, and then also Lamptey, who was absolutely superb at the start of last season, then picked up an injury sort of about 2/3 of the way through last season, and he hasn't played an awful lot since. But he's still to come back into the team. He was on the bench today, and you're suddenly thinking, hang on, Brighton have actually got a little bit of strength sitting on the bench, which is unusual. You wouldn't expect that. So they've got options, and I think that must be something that must be pleasing if you're a Brighton fan, and it must be something that's quite exciting in some ways, because you know fine well if they will go through that spell where they're not playing particularly well, but they can change it up and they can sort of take people in and out of the team. Lallana's playing regularly, which is good to see.
Yeah, really good.
He's once again showing that he is the player that he was. Certainly showed that he could be at Southampton. I don't think he got rubber green at Liverpool, but and then Danny Welbeck. Who'd have thought?
He's doing well there, and I mean he had his moments at Liverpool. Lallana, I think his time at Liverpool was a bit harsh because he was injured a lot of the time. You know, he picked up quite a few injuries in Liverpool. I lived for him. But when he came in and started having a run of games, he did start looking like the player of old. But he's now at Brighton. He's starting to get a run of games, and he's looking really good. He's looking like the player he was at Southampton anyway. You know, so that's good. And they say Brighton.
I put Lallana in the same class as Milner and Henderson, where they can just run forever and ever and ever. And every team needs someone like that who can run people down and rely on them to do the dirty work.
Definitely.
Can also just mention as well, because I think we often get stuck in this whole world where Premier League football becomes about the high, the mighty, and all these. But Brighton, not too long ago, didn't have a stadium. They were playing at a sports village type place.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. With the Withdean Sports Stadium, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, they've been down in the depths. We're in a week where Derby County at the bottom of the Championship have got into administration, which they should have done. They should have done last season, and Wycombe Wanderers would have stayed up. But hey, that's maybe an argument for another time. But to see Brighton go from that position and the depths of where the fans have actually been to being now, in the Premier League, knocking on the door, keeping City out of the top four. These are times that you think if you're a kid and you're supporting Brighton, these are times where you'll never forget it for the rest of your life.
They got a bit of a tough game for them next week. They got the Crystal Palace away on the Monday Night Football next week.
That'll be interesting. That I think they're probably better than Palace, but then we don't know what's Palace have had a couple of decent games, and
depends on what Palace you're going to play at Selhurst Park. And they've got a really difficult team to beat, even for the top teams going there. I always get nervous when Liverpool are going there because I think it's always been a potential banana skin for any team. So it'll be good to see how they get on next Monday and see where they go. But
speaking of Palace, though, this is how seamless we are, isn't it? Speaking of Palace, last week, Charlie, I don't know if you noticed. Last week we had a bit of a technical hitch. The minute I mentioned Liverpool, right?
Yeah,
my earpods went. So Stephen then had to talk for at least a good 2.5-3 minutes, all about the Liverpool game, and I missed it all. I missed the whole lot.
Really?
Just move on.
It wasn't a technical hitch, Charlie. He just pressed the off button on his earphones. That's what it was.
Pretty much.
Deliberate move.
I brought show and tell for today, though. I had this little piece that was given to me by my uncle back in the 70s. So let me show you this. If I can hold on to it. Where's the camera?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like a little Liverpool. It's almost like flight wings, like you get from when you're riding on a plane. But this is a little thing from the 70s. I thought it was pretty cool.
No way.
Look how old how old it looks. It's really cool.
It is, and look at the badge on it as well.
And if we ever get to the Everton game, I have something to show you for Everton as well, John.
Oh, we might not get the Everton game this week.
No, you can talk about, John, so you can say your pick. Is it last week's win or this week's loss?
Yeah. I'll show them now. Then this is what my uncle gave me back when I was 10. So it was probably like 78, 79. My uncle gave me these Everton cufflinks.
Oh wow! There you go. See, Charlie. Thing is, Charlie, you're never going to wear them, you see. So
high quality diamond cut, 22 karat gold plated.
Wow.
Yeah. They'll be worth more if you melt them down, Charlie.
So I'm wondering, has the crest changed since the late 70s? Because this is what the crest looks like.
Yeah, it's changed about 3 times.
Yeah.
Still very, very, very similar, actually. Very similar.
It was cool.
No, that's cool.
Many, many years ago.
So really, what he was trying to do is stop you being a Liverpool fan and take you over to the dark side of Goodison Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't do that. We can't
One
do
of-
that. You just stay on this side, Charlie.
one of my memories from my cousins over there. Yes, I've been snuck into the back of Goodison Park back when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
We used to have this old gate you used to sneak through, I guess.
Yeah.
And they snuck me, so I saw an Everton game at Goodison Park, and then I also got a tour of Anfield because my mother's maid of honor used to work at Anfield, and I got to stand on the pitch at Anfield. So I'm very super excited about that. So
And you'd have been there when it was old Kemlyn Roads and stuff like that. So it's where it's the Sir Kenny Dalglish stand now, but that stand used to be called Kemlyn Road. It used to be like a single tier stand. And
I think it was even back then though, Stephen. And I remember I similarly, Charlie, I got snuck in at Anfield just for first game of the season, and I think it was 1977, and they played Norwich. And at the back of the Kop, there was a sectioned off bit which was the boys' pen, and it's basically it was like having a kiddie daycare bit. You know, you just chuck all your kids in there, and all the dads went into the Kop and stuff like that. But I got snuck in there, and it's just like, and it was, you know, again, it was one of them things when you're young and your affiliation to football teams could be quite easily swayed. And I was stood watching. Yeah, fair play, Liverpool won. They won very easily. But could you imagine if I'd have turned down and decided I'm going to be a Liverpool fan? That would be it. That would have been the moment.
just imagine how much greater your life would have been.
My dad and the rest of my family would never, ever have had me in the house ever again.
It's comes straight out of some Evertonians, isn't it?
Yeah. Evertonians are born, not manufactured.
My best man was an Evertonian, and he's that staunch of it. He won't wear any red in his clothes at all. The colours for the wedding. Wow. And I had to there, and we said, right, we'll do Liverpool red, and he had to Liverpool red tie. Well, just leave that in the thing. Just leave that there. Don't worry about that.
Thanks, Sarah. That's all of that.
Anyway, let's get back to the football.
See what I'm doing? I'm stalling here. I'm just stalling.
We don't talk about time.
His earphones are going to go again in a minute, Charlie. Just mark my words now, what?
Well, we have to mention anything about the Liverpool game. You got to mention how well of a job James Milner did as at right back. At right back, not even the left back that he was playing before. At right back against one of the best, Crystal Palace's.
Zaha.
Yeah. I mean, that guy's really good, and Millie did really good containing him.
Guess who I put in my fantasy football team this week?
Millie?
No. Alexander Arnold.
Alexander Arnold. He didn't play.
Me too. He got nothing. He didn't play.
Goodness me, typical, like, you know, the curse of my fantasy football selections hits again.
I had him too. You got 0 points.
Charlie, I think you're better off talking about the Liverpool game because you will have been able to watch it all live. You know, we just got the highlights over here and watched it. You know, and for me, looking at the highlights, it looked like Liverpool were comfortable. They weren't struggling, but they weren't at the best at any stretch of the imagination. But the amount of changes that was made, it's probably makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was closer than the score represented, to tell you the truth, because again they had Kanate in there. His first game, as we were talking about before the show, I was not impressed with his ball handling skills. He looked a little nervous at times, but he's a big guy. He's a tall guy. He's as tall as Van Dijk, and but his I think his passing was off, his timing was off, and then you also had Jota, who I was not. I have a little bit of a worry about him. He seems to do better when he's brought on in the middle of a game when he's starting, for some reason, he just goes down a couple of levels. He goes from like a 9 to a 7 for some reason. He's just got to get that out of his mind. He's got to bring it every game, and he just didn't bring it that game. I didn't think. But yeah, I thought it was a closer game than the score. You know, I think Allison saved their butts a couple times. Millie I thought Millie was awesome. He's a runner. I love it. I love it when Fabinho and Henderson are in there together. I'm not a huge fan of Thiago. And then I'm not a huge fan of Keita either. You know, but he scored a really good goal.
His goal was superb, though.
Yeah, his goal was good. And I'm with you with Keita on that one, Charlie, because I was watching him in the Champions League the other day, and I just struggle to understand what he brings to the team.
Yeah,
I really do struggle. It's not like he's not trying; he does try, but at the back, he doesn't look all the strongest at the back and being able to break up play. He doesn't look the strongest going forward to link the play. So I'm at a loss of what he brings to the team. You know, I haven't seen enough of him play, so I can't really say that he can't do anything. But he just looks lost sometimes. Great goal yesterday. Really good goal.
I tell you,
what does he do? What does he bring? I don't get it.
That lad, was it the lad Jones? And I can't remember his first name.
Jones.
Yeah.
When he came on for Jota, and I thought he looks again another fantastic prospect that Liverpool have got to be able to bring off the bench. You know, and I think again it's just one of them things, that strength in depth that is really going to be with, you know, it's going to see them through. And you know, I know you guys have said about Milner already. Milner's really getting to the stage where he's, you know,
35 now.
Yeah, just like how on earth he keeps playing football, you don't know. But what a servant for every club that he's played for. But for Liverpool, he's just totally invaluable. And I think his actual ability to influence some of these younger lads that are coming through, I just must be immense. And you know, I really think if I was a Liverpool fan, I would be really excited because there is so much there's so many different prospects coming through as well. So
I wish Jones would get more playing time. I want him to have a more steady playing time. But but Millie's 35 and he's still getting like first or second on all the stats, most passes, most yards covered, percentage of passes, and all that stuff. He's really, really good. And he's 35 years old. I think he plays till he's 40 if he stays in good shape, you know.
Yeah. He's just one of them players that's looked after himself like Ronaldo's done. Ronaldo's 36. He could play till he's 40 as well. Just looks after themselves, you know. I think that's I think you're going to see more and more of them players as you go through. And when we talked about, you know, Greavesy, you know, we were talking about him at the start of the show. He retired at the age of 31. So the difference now between that era and now is just completely. I think it changed in the mid-90s.
Back then,
I think you're right. It's on there, Charlie. I would just sort of raise a glass. I think that's really why Greavesy decided the football was getting away with the drinking. But for someone like Milner, it's just, you know, and Ronaldo. There's others out there as well. You know, Gareth Barry did it as well. They take such good care of themselves, and you know, and as we spoke about last week with the lad who got injured, if you escape serious injury, there's no reason given the sports science that's involved where you can't just continue until you're edging up to your 40s. You know, I must admit I was probably well done by the time I was 30 myself. You know. It's when you're playing five-a-side and you get one of them 19-year-olds sort of stick the ball past you and it's just like do you for pace, that's it, you're done, aren't you?
Let me guess, you've done a cynical challenge as he went past you, John.
Yeah.
Flying.
Sorry, mate, didn't mean it.
Come on, let's talk about Everton then, John. What happened, mate? What happened there?
It basically didn't turn up, and I think as well. I think the when I saw the team sheet, there's no Pickford, no Richarlison. We already lost Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
It was always going to be one of them days where it was going to be Everton 0 because we don't score unless Richarlison plays or Calvert-Lewin. We don't score. The loss of Pickford, I think, set the back four on edge a little bit. There was, we didn't have Seamus Coleman because of injury, and it's just all that thing. And they contained Villa, and I give Villa the due. They actually really wanted it. They wanted it more than we did in the second half, and Villa have been due a result like that because it's certainly not as bad as the first few results of the season had actually set them. So I'll take that. I know Everton played in a Monday night game last week, so we didn't get a chance to talk about that on Sunday. They looked pretty ordinary for the first half an hour against Burnley. And again, what was interesting to see is they actually took the game by the scruff of the neck and actually got a really good result on Monday. So, if we'd have won yesterday, it would have been different. I'd have a different tale to tell. But we keep going back to the same thing where Everton is when there's a result to be had and you have an opportunity of being at the top of the league, they crumble. And we did it. We did it very early on last season with Ancelotti, and then fell away dreadfully at the end of the season. But this is one where I think Rafa just had his eyes open to just how rubbish some of the players at Everton are. It's just like they didn't fancy it yesterday and just coasted through the game and got the result that they deserved. So
is Everton the type of team to give Rafa 3 or 4 years to make it his own team without firing?
I think so, Charlie. I had a conversation during the week with somebody whose child is at the academy, and they were talking about the difference that they've seen already, and what they were trying to say was the fact that Rafa is always there. Doesn't matter if training for this kid's only like 9, and he's turning up and he's doing his bit and stuff like that. But Rafa's always there. Doesn't matter if it's Thursday night. Doesn't matter if it's Sunday morning. Doesn't matter if it's the training on the Tuesday night. Rafa's there. And previously, they'd never seen anybody from the top end of the football club, from the first team, be it the first team manager, the first team coaches, never there. Rafa is always there. And I think that coming so quickly into him actually turning up at the club, I think shows that longevity. And I think he will be given time. He will be given money eventually once we actually sort out the FIFA fair play stuff, because we've got a massive wage bill and he's already chipping away at that in getting rid of players that should have been got rid of a long time ago. Only this week, Mo Besic, who we've shipped out on loan to copious clubs over the past 3 or 4 years, and nobody bought him because he was on decent wages at Everton. He's been shipped out, and it's creating space and it's creating just the opportunity either for youngsters to come through and actually establish themselves, or for the club to actually make a decision as to exactly who we buy in. There's a lot still to go in this season. Everton have got a very, very difficult turn of the year ahead as regarding Sigurdsson, and once that goes to court, who knows? So we're going to get dragged through the mud a little bit. I'd like to see as many points on the board as possible before Christmas, because I think that would really be sort of the way. And I think for Rafa, it's just a case of steady the ship, because I think it was very unsteady under Ancelotti, and as much as it appeared the fairy tale, it actually, I think in the background there was a lot going on, and I think Rafa's actually already shown that he's prepared to face up James Rodriguez, and actually, it might well be that it's like he's got a little bit of a problem with his calf muscle this week, and he's just had it out in the press conference. He's just saying, he's got a problem with a muscle. He's not in the squad. So put it out there, big on communication. And actually, all James will do is just have on his socials, he'll just be playing Xbox on his settee and not knowing which team Everton are playing either. So, I think there's a love-hate relationship between the two of them. James loves himself and Rafa hates him. So.
Well, one thing Rafa won't know from experience when he was at Liverpool, one thing Rafa won't put up with is anyone not pulling the weight.
And I love that. I love that, Stephen.
I don't have none of your prima donnas in there. If James is in there and acting like a prima donna, thinking, I'm James Rodriguez, you should be giving me everything. He won't put up with that. He'll just go. He'll be gone.
Yeah, and equally, we've not had anybody like that since Moyes left.
No,
and I think even in the latter days of Moyes basically ignored a few of the things that were going on. With some of the senior pros in particular, the likes of Fellaini, the likes of Jagielka and stuff, it was a case of, it needed that sort of hunger of somebody coming in to really lay down the law. And you think about how many managers we've been through in that sort of space from Moyes leaving, and that churn has created a lot of hangers-on who are eating up a lot of money month after or week after week. That's costing the club, and I know I mentioned Darby earlier, but it's just like if you don't take care of that, then suddenly you find it's very difficult to meet the wage bill. And I take my hat off to the fact that Rafa's there. He's got a very difficult job, but he's putting his stamp on it already, and I like that.
I reckon you'll give him a few years, 3 or 4 years. I reckon you'll give him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to need a few transfer windows to get his team into it. So it's his team. And I think that's what Everton need. They need that stability now, because I think you're right. You've had a few managers now since Moyes has gone. There's been no stability there for you long term anyway. So you've got loads of you've got Deadwood from 2-3 managers ago that are still there, and you need to get all out. Get all the players in that he likes so we can get a system, and I think you'll see a different Everton in that. I think this season's obviously this season's all about Rafa learning about what he's got, they say the fact that a lot of them didn't play well yesterday will have taught him a lot, John. So they're the lessons you want to be learning. Then next season it'll all be about transitioning into this new team, and he'll have had the January this window. Not many people going by. But then he'll have the summer, which is really his first real window, is next summer, and then he'll be able to get a few stamps on it. Put his own stamp on the team. But I think you're going to need a few transfer windows like that, because he's not. I think Moshiri's got the money, but like you say, you're hampered by this FIFA fair play. And
Moshiri's wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, which is only applicable to every team other than City and Paris Saint-Germain, because those two teams just seem to be able to spend £100 million and have empty stadiums. They don't call it the empty hat for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And going on to City.
Tell you what, Stephen, I might be able to send you guys a couple of pictures during the week. I've been invited to the empty hat as a guest of Wycombe Wanderers on Tuesday. Yeah. To the Man City Wycombe Wanderers game in the Carabao Cup. Yeah. So I shall let you know, but I've got to wear a shirt and tie. I've got to look dead posh and all that.
You'll get the usual Scouse in a suit jokes, John. That's what you'll get.
Exactly. That's it. I'm looking forward to that already.
What's it called?
You're on there.
You're on it, yeah. It wasn't me. You're on it. Look at that City. They drew yesterday, and I thought it was embarrassing. I imagine your manager coming out and pleading with the fans to come and give them support. It's embarrassing. You'd never see that. And I was looking at some of the comments on Twitter and online, other places. Some of the City fans were saying, "Well, you can't. It's hard to get to a football match at 8 p.m. in the middle of the week." And I just think, well, I live up in Cumbria, and I know there's people up here who travel down to the football match at Anfield, which is a 2.5-hour journey there and a 2.5-hour journey back, and being worked the next day. And
are they not filling their stadium?
No, nowhere near it.
Really?
No. Nowhere near it.
And particularly, Charlie, for Champions League games and cup games, where obviously you have to pay extra on top of your season ticket, etc. And I think this again, City fans dying out on the fact that Man United fans all live in Ireland, London, etc. Just like Evertonians dying out on the fact that most of the Liverpool fans don't live in Liverpool, But see what I did there. But City fans they've got to have that retort by actually filling the stadium and actually going and supporting that team, not just for the glory moments, but through the whole of the season. And I think as well, I think Pep dealt with it perhaps the wrong way. I think his team selection yesterday was absolutely shocking, because he put out basically a team where he had De Bruyne on the bench, and he just kept it all there and thought, I'll tell you what, if you're not doing all right until an hour, then we'll change it up. And it was too late.
They should lower their prices to make sure the right crowd is be able to get in there. The people that want to go to the games, lower the prices so they can go.
I'll tell you what the food's like on Tuesday, Charlie. So we're not paying.
Do you know what, John? I've been to the Etihad for the Christmas do, and the food's not that bad.
Okay. I'll keep it touch. I'll let you know, lads. That's all right. I got to meet
Joe Corrigan.
I'll take one for the team.
Yeah, I got to meet Joe Corrigan that day. I was in one of the suites.
Yeah. Oh, what a goalkeeper! Do you know you're in a goalkeeper fest tonight, mate, aren't you?
Yeah.
You mentioned Big Nev, and then you've mentioned Joe Corrigan.
Joe Corrigan,
two of my favourite goalkeepers of all time.
Yeah, I did let him know. He was a good goalkeeper, but not such a great goalkeeping coach at Liverpool, because he oversaw David James and Brad Friedel, who was he had Brad Friedel, and Brad Friedel was awful in Liverpool shirt, and then Brad Friedel went to Blackburn and he just became his world star. So,
right, I know we're on a time limit, and I just want to mention the fact that Arsenal won away at Burnley, quite. With a little bit of the usual controversy, but Burnley now are in the bottom three. So what do you do when you're in the bottom three? They've just given their manager another 4-year contract, signed freshly this week. Yeah, there you go, Charlie.
Yeah.
And I thought, goodness me, I'd be making him wait a little bit more for that contract. I'd be looking for a little bit more stability within the club. And I've been given the fact that Burnley usually give Arsenal a hard time at Turf Moor. I don't know, just one of them ones. They've got 1 point from 5 games. Norwich are the only team below them, and Norwich got the usual. They got turned over by Watford.
Yeah, he did. And Norwich are in a bad place. They've lost the first 5 games of the season. They've only scored 2 goals. Norwich. Yeah, and
equally, what I'll chuck in there as well is I actually watched the Friday night game, which was Newcastle Leeds, with the thought that it could end up being a half decent game. And actually, for a person who's got Leeds as one of my hopes for a European spot this season, Leeds look well short and well.
One thing I'll say about that game, John, I watched that myself, and the one thing I'll say about that is Newcastle looked like they had a bit of fight in them, but it also highlighted why they'll end up in the bottom 3 as well this year, because they just lack quality. You got that Saint Maximin, is it?
Maximum, yeah.
He looks a good player, but everything else around them just looks bang average. And Leeds, they looked good in places, but again, showed why they're going to struggle this year to get.
It's just not. I think for Leeds, it's not sparking like it did last season, and I think that's probably frustrating some of them.
Yeah.
But
I don't think you'll go down.
But I think you've both pulled me on this when we did the start of season predictions. When you've both got Leeds further down the league, and you said that actually it's that second season syndrome that they're going to suffer from, and teams figured out how to play them. And I ignored that in my choice of Leeds to do quite well, but I'm beginning to see exactly what you were saying.
Yeah. But the team that's going to take their place in terms of coming up and having a good season, Brentford, they won again.
And they were I watched the game and they were brilliant against Wolves. And Wolves once again looked absolutely garbage at the back.
I had that in my notes too. Brentford looked good. Brentford looked good. That's what my notes say.
And again,
do.
Again, my fantasy football week of despair continued because I got rid of Ivan Toney, and then he scores and assists. It's just I'm going to give up. I'm going to write to every player in the Premier League and say, look, I've stopped doing fantasy football. You can just go and play your normal game now, rather than having a weekly curse put on your back.
See, I had the opposite in the fantasy league this week, John. I absolutely smashed it this week, but the first few weeks I've been
I'm stuffed again now, aren't I?
Yeah. Charlie sat at the top. Yeah, I'll bring it up now. Yeah. So we've got Charlie at the top there. Look at that, 119. Have a good start there. You got Sarah there on 102.
That lad Average is doing well, isn't he?
Average is doing sound, yeah, he's second. Which means we'll all be Charlie's the only one above.
I know. That's even more shocking.
Well, yeah, that's going to look interesting as we go through the season. But yeah, I did a bit of a change. I took Antonio out and had a bit of a transfer, and I brought Bamford in because I thought he'd do all right for Newcastle. Yeah, I got 5 points off him, but it wasn't the kind of result I was looking for after that transfer. But I put Salah as a captain because I just thought Crystal Palace, he's gonna score, and Mane, he always scores against Palace. I had him as a vice captain. I brought him in and done that. The only problem was I didn't use your wild card that you said, John, because if I'd have done that, I'd have got rid of all my Tottenham players because I had a lot of goal.
I got rid of mine. That was it. That was Dyer and all that. And I actually remembered Nick's old thing. Dyer by name, Dyer by nature.
Yeah.
Sarah's coming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
beginner's luck. You're only 5 games in. Come on. Right, let's not get overexcited here. Not exactly at the relegation table, yeah.
That's all the talk I'm getting. Every time I put it up on my app, I'm like, I'm bottom of the league. So a long season ahead of us. Don't you worry, lads.
It'll change.
I'll still be bottom at the end of the year. Don't you worry.
Right, I think that's all out of time, John. In fact, we've gone over, haven't we, guys? We've gone over.
Have.
7 minutes.
It's been good that tonight, and it's unusual to go over when Everton get beat. So,
well, we had to get you to talk about it, John. Do you know what I mean? And did you notice our earphones didn't go?
No. I didn't either.
Right, anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for getting involved in the chat, and we'll see you next week. Bye.